Okay, so I'm going to jump right to part C of number 20. Sorry, this is math 2. I'm doing 20 and 22, I think it was. Yeah, no, I said 20 and 24. So I'm going to jump right to part C because the hints are actually pretty okay for this part, and then to do part B, you just have to rewrite a couple of things. What I was going to say was part C is get a little confusing because you have a 4 and you have a 1/2, so it's kind of hard to tell what your base is, especially since the first two, A and B, you could tell right away that the base for A is probably going to be a 2, and then the base for B is probably going to be a 3. So this one's just a little tricky. So what I did was, okay, I'm going to rewrite this because I'm going to have to. So we have a 2x is equal to 1/2 in parentheses, all of it to the x plus 5 power, just like that. And then from here, it can go a little crazy. So I know 4 is 2 squared. So I'm going to replace the 4 with a 2 squared. And then 2x is still in my exponent, but now I also have a 2 over there. And then 1/2 is technically, it says, remember that 1/2 is the same as 2 to the negative 1 power. So I'm going to replace 1/2 as 2 to the negative 1 power. And then I have an x plus 5 at the top. So from here, we're going to rewrite again. So it becomes 2 to the 4x, because 2 times 2 is 4. And then it becomes 2 to the negative 1 times whatever was out here, x plus 5. All right. Now it becomes really convenient because I can see, hey, my bases are both 2. If you didn't realize that before, you probably should have spotted that in this second line up here. So now we have 4x is equal to negative 1 multiplied by x plus 5. We're going to distribute the negative 1 and becomes a minus 5, 4x. Add 1x to both sides, and then we get 5x is equal to negative 5, so x has to be equal to negative 1. Okay, all right, there we go. That's 20, and I want to get to 24 because that's the doozy one. All right, 24. Okay, first part. It says that BD bisects ABC, or use the given information from the diagram below to solve for x. Show all your work. BD bisects ABC, and then remember that an angle bisector divides the angle into two congruent angles. If ABD is 5x minus 10 and ABC is 65, solve for x. So I'm going to label what these things are. ABD is 5x minus 10, right? So ABD is 5x minus 10. And then we have ABC. ABC is 65. So the whole thing is 65 degrees. The whole thing is 65 degrees. And an angle bisector literally means just that. Remember that an angle bisector divides the angle into two congruent angles. So realistically, the first step should be, hey, you know what? I have technically two of these. If this one is 5x minus 10 and this ray here divides this ABC angle in half, then, you know, then realistically this side should be 5x minus 10 also, right? Now, if you take 65 and you divide it in half, that is going to give you a decimal. Hold on a second. Then it shouldn't be too big of an issue to figure out how much that is, because realistically you can just divide it in half. So 65 divided by 2 is going to be a 3 and a 6 and a 0 and a 5 and a 2 and a 4. So it's going to be 32.5. Okay, so this side here is 32.5 degrees. This side here is 32.5 degrees. And if you add them up, you should get 65. So technically, the faster way really to do this would be to say, hey, 5x minus 10 has to be equal to 32.5 because that is technically half of 65. Okay, and then you can just solve for x from there. Okay, part B. M is the midpoint of EF. Okay, so M is right in the middle between these 2 points. You have a line segment. If EM is 4x minus 2, okay, so let's do EM. EM is 4x minus 2. And MF is 3x plus 9. Oh, now they're, even though it's in the middle, they don't actually have the same information, so it gets a little confusing. but we know that m is right in the middle. And mf is 3x plus 9. Solve for x. All right? So m is the midpoint. How are em and fm related? That's your hint. And if m is right in the middle, to me that means that em has to be technically equal to mf. Well, if that's true, then you can just kind of take the information that we wrote and replace it, or substitute, right? So 4x minus 2 is going to be equal to 3x plus 9, and I'm sure you can solve it from there. All right? Next one. W, x, y, z at the right is a parallelogram. If measure of angle W is 9x minus 3, angle z, 3x plus 15, solve for x. Okay, so first we need to talk about really quickly what were the attributes of parallelograms, because I think that was like about 2 or 3 chapters ago. One thing I do know is parallelograms got 4 sides, so there it is, yay. I know that since we're actually talking about angles in this one, I'm just going to talk about the angles themselves. We found out from before that the opposite angles in a parallelogram were equal to each other. So this angle up here, angle W, is going to be equal to angle Y, and angle Z is going to be equal to angle X. All right? Well, if we know angle W is 9x minus 3, I'm going to label that. So W, this angle in here, I'm going to draw a little arrow to it, is 9x, sorry, should be 9x minus 3. And then angle Z, this one up here, I'm going to do this in a different color, is 3x plus 15. All right, well, obviously that's 1 slash, and obviously that has 2 slashes. So realistically, they're not equal to each other. There's no way. So 9x minus 3 will never be equal to 3x plus 15. That you do not solve this one the same way that you solved part B. What you can do, though, is remember the properties of parallel lines and transversals. Technically, since these are 2 parallel lines coming down this way, just like that, and you have a transversal that's cutting this way, these are technically same side interior angles. So they will be supplementary, which means they will be equal to 180 degrees. So here we go. W, so measure of angle W, plus whatever the measure of angle Z is, should equal to 180 degrees. They are same side interior angles. Measure of angle W is 9x minus 3, plus measure of angle Z is 3x plus 15, and it's all equal to 180, so we can add them up. 9 and 3 makes 12. Negative 3 plus 5 is, 12x, sorry. Minus 12. Yep. Oh, sorry, added positive 12 is 180, and then solve it from there. All right. Okay, so that was 20 and 24. If you have any other questions, see you guys later.